So you guys want to know about Lane Kiffin, or what are you guys here for? Yeah?
You want to go? Sure, why not?
Okay.
You're a football coach.
I know, I love it. I love it.
Yeah? Are we talking about Lane? Or...
Oh, no, I don't care.
Hey, how's it? Always, it seems like we start with this lately. How's the health of your team? It seems like you maybe got a guy back.
Yeah, Hannes has been doing some, probably 50% of stuff right now. I don't know about live cutting. We'll see. Obviously, Bryson's still been out. But it's been good. Hopefully we can get, Hannes back at some point this week because we need not just the size, but, we need his IQ more than anything, like his IQ and his passing ability and his rebounding.
And it gets to like that right there. He means what to your team? I mean, other than the rebounding and the scoring and the pat, it seems like it's early, but you guys start to form an identity around him.
Yeah, just his basketball IQ, like we need it bad, and like every team needs somebody like that. But he cleans up so much mess, like he offensive rebounds some bad shots we take. He cleans up some defensive mistakes just with his IQ of, whether he's, helping or tagging on a roll or he's coming to help from the weak side, getting deflections on balls, like getting a lot of the defensive rebounds. Like the last real game he played, the Washington State, I mean, in the first half, he had half of our team's rebounds. And so that's just stuff it's just the little stuff that he does. His ability to get in and out of pick and rolls and be able to catch it and find guys for shots. And not just that, like he delivers the pass on time, on target. He's probably our most accurate passer. And, our shooting percentages are really good when he is passing the basketball. And so, it's a lot of little things. Obviously, he's just a tremendous player. But it's a lot of those little things that make him such a great player.
And then after watching the film of these past two games,
yeah,
what were the things that you liked about how your team played in Palm Desert, and what do you guys need to clean up?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was proud of our guys because, like, we're small. We've been small for about 2 weeks now, and it finally caught up to us against Colorado. But I'm proud of our guys' effort. I thought after watching the Colorado film, it was exactly what I said post game. Like I felt like that was the first time we were selfish. We just made some uncharacteristic plays. And when I say selfish, like I don't know if it had the intent to be selfish right away, and that's something I'm trying to figure out. But I think it was more guys just trying to make a play to spark our team. So I don't think their intent was selfish, but the plays were selfish. If guys are open, we have to pass the basketball. And you have to make the right basketball play, and we didn't against Colorado. And I want to make sure that I give Colorado the credit because they forced us into that. They forced some of our players to play against friction, and they did a great job like chesting up, walling up, and we didn't handle that physicality well enough. We have all the players, like we've handled the physicality in the past, and we will on Wednesday night. UCLA is going to do the same thing. We'll be much better handling that physicality and trying to get the shot that we want. Not the shot that just certain guys want, like the shot for Washington. But I think it'll be a great learning experience, not only, to help us, with UCLA, but like down the line. When we play like that, we're not very good. When any team plays like that, they're not very good. And, some of the shots, we just took some crazy shots and like I said, our guys were just trying to provide that spark and hit a home run to get us going. And that's not what you can do. We're not built like that.
And then just my last one. Just what is that fine line between being aggressive and selfish? In a coach's mind, is it just the result, or is it sort of more than that?
No, like it's just making the right basketball play. If I drive and get two guys on me and Lathan Somerville's open right on the basket, I got to pass him the ball. He's got a better shot. If they crack down and Kamari's on the backside, I got to throw him the ball. Like it's not that hard, and we're good. We got good enough basketball players. They know what the right play is, and when they're not making the right play, that's when I know something's going on. And I think, a lot of the Colorado game was early on. We took some bad shots, and they made us pay for it. And then all of a sudden, the lead got a little bigger and bigger. Then we just kind of panicked and tried to start hitting home runs instead of hitting singles to get ourselves back in the game. And then at halftime, we slowed down. We got back to playing the right way for about 10 minutes, got ourselves back in the game. And it was a tie game, and then we had like 3 straight possessions of bad plays, where we'd get steals and have 3-on-2s, and guys were wide open. and we weren't passing the ball. And so seeing that on film, will hopefully help us win games down the road of what not to do.
I know you're not going to make excuses, and I'm not setting you up to make any, but you built this team, and you had started the year with 5 bigs, 6 if you include Jacob. At times you've been down to 1.
Yep.
Most of the times I think you want to play 2 bigs on the floor at a time, and you've rarely been able to do that. But does it seem like you're coaching a different team than you built?
Yeah, completely different, because guys are having to play out of position. I mean, there's times we have Zoom playing 1 through 4. Desmond, he's played some 4. Wesley's played some 4. So it's like, they're not used to like having to guard guys down there. Now, when we have to switch 1 through 4, they got to do it anyways. And like I said, you got to find a way to do it because a lot of teams are going to 4 out, 5 out. But just the size differential with Colorado, I mean, their 3-man was 6'11", and he can really move. Their big guy was probably 280. Their 4-man is 7 foot long and athletic. So, like, that's where they caused us some of the problems was not only their pace, and when they did get us switching, they took advantage of it right away. And like I said, that's why I want to give Colorado more credit than discrediting our guys. Like, they forced the tempo, they played the right way, and they made the right reads, which is why they were successful.
At the end of the day, a lot of people say it's still basketball. But when you're asking guys to do things that they're not used to doing and just being able to practice, I mean, you got 3 guys out here that aren't on the team that are having to practice. How much is chemistry and being able to practice together? How big is that?
It's huge, especially this time of year, especially early on, the first, 10 games. And that's why you see a lot of teams that have a lot of continuity back, like they're playing really well. Like even Iowa, they're a new team, but, Coach McCollum's coached those guys. Like, they're defending, mid-January right now, because they played together. And, and our group, it's going to take a little while longer, along with other groups too. And with the way that we do stuff, like the way we scout, we usually get better throughout the year because some of our stuff is complex and it takes a while to learn it. But once they do learn it, that's when we start getting pretty good.
Even despite the injuries and the talent that you have, you've only had 1 guy start every game so far. The lineups have been kind of different almost every time out. Are you surprised by that at all?
Not really, not this time of year. And especially with our guys, I wanted to see how they played under the lights too, and it could continue to change. I think the more important thing is who's going to play the last 10 minutes of the game. When it's winning time, that's when we got to see who's going to be on the court, who's going to make those plays, because a lot of it too depends on how the other team lines up. Are they playing with 2 bigs? And first off, we've had Lathan, even though Lathan, he's not healthy either, by the way. He sprained his ankle the Saturday before, and he gutted out playing both of those games. And so really Frank's the healthiest one on the team right now, which is great. But it's been it has been hard and it's been challenging, but a lot of it is depending on who our opponent is too.
Yeah. And JJ's still playing his same minutes, but he kind of had his role shifted a little bit. Did you just go for a little more offense to start a game when?
No, because he was one of our best offensive players against Colorado. He had 8 and 6 assists, 0 turnovers. In fact, him and Frank, I thought those were our 2 best offensive players.
So his role change was for what reason? Just
I don't think his role's changed.
Well, he wasn't starting the last 2 games.
But that doesn't mean his role's changed.
Yeah.
He's got the same role. He just, he hasn't started. Like I said, we've changed different guys into those spots depending on who we're playing, but his role has not changed. He's a floor general, pass first guy, and like I said, I thought he played great against Colorado with 8 points and 6 assists, 0 turnovers.
Now that you get to see a couple more games at Desmond Claude, how do you feel that he played in this tournament?
Yeah, he's still not in game shape. Like you could tell, like he's out of sync. A lot of the plays, like going in and really like finishing, you could still see he's a little timid jumping off those feet. And that's the one thing, like showing him film, like, no man, you got to go. Like there can't be like you got to start hitting guys again like you were before, because when he drives, that's the one thing I love about him and Zoom. Like when they drive, like they're driving to initiate contact. Like they're not trying to avoid contact. They're coming to hit you. and that's what makes both of them really good and hard to guard and drawing a lot of fouls. Where I felt like Dez was trying to avoid contact the last 2 and that's not his game. Like when he's hitting guys and getting up and finishing, getting and ones, like that's when he's at his best. And I think we'll see that on Wednesday.
Wesley had 3 straight 20-point games. Colorado seemed to kind of figure him out on Friday. Is it better to have one guy just dominate, or do you want to have get multiple guys involved in your offense?
Yeah, at this level, you have to have multiple guys. It's too easy to take away one guy. And, and that's where we have to have – that's where we got to share the basketball. We have to make it easier for Wesley, too. We got to make it easier for Kamari. Like, we got to set good screens to get those guys shots. We got to be able to drive, and when they're open, be able to get them the ball. And vice versa. When they're on the court, they're opening up driving lanes for Zoom or JJ or Dez and guys like that. And so it all encompasses each other. But that's the one thing, and I think Wesley made it hard on himself against Colorado. I give them credit. They did a good job walling up at the rim. But then we also took some crazy shots, that are low percentage shots that we can get those at any point in the possession. And so, like I said, not just him, but like everybody, we got to take higher percentage shots.
And you guys had out-rebounded everybody up until the Colorado game. You had some issues with Bang-Up Dak underneath. He gave you guys some issues. How important is it to get some of your big guys back?
Well, it's huge. Like, their whole team gave us issues. Like, their 2, 3, 4, and 5s. Like, I thought they did a tremendous job, like, rebounding and being physical and staying between us and the basket. And for whatever reason, our guards last week, we couldn't get by anybody. And a lot of it was the ball was sticking a little bit. Like, we have to get the ball moving more, and then attacking off penetration. But the rebounding issue, that was a straight, like I said, Colorado they played harder than we did on Friday night. They did. Like, they played with an intent to rebound and do the little things that winning entails. So give them credit.
When you wind down a little bit later in the afternoon or evening, do you find your mind wandering a little bit, just kind of thinking about some lineups with Frank and Hannes and Jacob on the floor and Bryson and Desmond on the floor at the same time, and just all those guys together with a complete team?
It's actually a great question because I haven't. Now you're going to get my mind wandering tonight. But I honestly haven't. Like, I'm just – like, if a guy's hurt, it's almost like they're just out of my mind. Like, no, this is who we got. These are the 5 guys. These are the 8 guys. Like, how do we coach this team to get them better today to play the next game? And if somebody comes back and joins us, okay, now we got to implement them. Now let's figure it out. But it's so much more just next man up, And like I said, yeah, I'd love to have Jacob and Bryson and Marty and those guys. They're not coming Wednesday, So it's like I can't worry about that. I got to worry about Cortland, Jossier, Desmond, and getting these guys to play as good as we can on Wednesday night.
You're obviously inheriting some of this, but what has made the Bruins so tough and sort of for you guys? And you're also seeing them off of a loss to Cal. What are you expecting on Wednesday?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to come in. It's going to be a Mick Cronin coach team. Like, they're going to be as physical as hell. They're gonna make it hard on you. They're going to guard you. They're going to take care of the basketball. And they're going to make you beat them. And if you don't go beat his team, don't expect them to give it to you. They're not going to give it to you. Like, they're going to make you earn it. And that's why I love his coaching style, and that's why he's been successful everywhere he's been. But, like, they're going to come with an edge, and we should come with the same edge too, because both teams are coming off a loss. And we know the physicality. I just met with the team. Like, we know what's coming. How are we going to handle that? How are we going to be able to weather some adversity because it's coming on Wednesday night? They're going to make shots. They got great players, okay? But are we going to be tough enough to get to the next play? Are we going to be tough enough to, when we go through a drought and don't make 3 shots in a row, are we going to not get back in transition? Are we going to forget to box out? Are we going to forget our defensive assignment? And that's how you come from good to great. Like, when you can be able to handle missed shots or turnovers and get back and clean it up. If you get beat defensively, you got to trust that somebody's coming to help you to cover for you until we can scramble back and get matched up. And that's where our group needs to take another step.
And I just haven't had a chance to ask you about this yet, but you guys are honoring Christian and Detlef. Just what was the thought process but behind that? Just your thoughts on those 2 guys having their jerseys retired.
It's awesome, and obviously I've gotten to know Detlef pretty well, and I told him, he took our team to dinner down in Palm Springs when he's down there, And the impressive thing about Detlef is as good of a basketball player he was, like, he's a better person. You guys know him. Everybody in the Seattle community knows him. Like, he's got no ego. He's just a regular guy, and who just happened to be a tremendous Hall of Fame basketball player. But, when you talk about him and obviously Christian, like being the all-time leading scorer and just what they meant to this university, for the people they were and the way they still impact the community, just their names and Detlef. But it's awesome, and it's very well deserved. And it just kind of shows the lineage of Husky basketball.
As like a young player, did you know them or follow them at all?
I didn't. And I may have told this story before, and I could be wrong. I think Detlef was on the team, and I remember I was literally shooting baskets in my front yard in Helena, Montana. I was probably maybe 9 years old, and my dad, I remember he got home from work and he just said, "Hey," he said, "do you want to go watch the Huskies play?" And they played in the NIT, I think, back there in Bozeman. They had to go to Bozeman and play Montana State, and so we went. We drove up to Bozeman, and literally we were sitting at the very top of Brick Breeden Fieldhouse, and it's crazy how the world comes around, and I end up going to college there and coaching there. But I was in one of the very top rows, and there was 9,000 people packed watching that game, and Washington won that game, and I believe Christian and Detlef were both on that team back maybe 84, 85, something like that. But yeah, I mean it's crazy when you start going back to memories like that. And even though I'm a diehard Bobcat and Husky now, but it's like at the time I was going to watch University of Washington, even though I was a kid from Montana.
Well, I hate to admit it, but I was at that game covering it.
Were you?
Yeah. And the one after that with Andy Russo's team.
Yeah.
We didn't really clarify, but Hannes does have a chance to play on Wednesday, even though he's only.
He does, yeah. I mean, he does. Like I said, he has a chance. We'll see. We'll probably know a lot more tomorrow and a lot more Wednesday after shoot around.
So you got one more hard practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
He has to make it through.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, and it's so early in the season. Like if it's not, then he won't play.
Yeah.
I know I keep on asking you about it, but every time I see Kwamari, he just seems like the guy who's keeping everything together you can depend on, and you keep on saying he does everything right. How important is he to just holding things together until you get the reinforcements back?
Well, he's huge because he's been one of our best passers out of ball screens, like getting the ball to the post guys like at the right time where they can catch and score the basketball. And he's just a threat on the court. Like he makes teams have to guard space, and we have to have him on the court. Him and Wes, we have to have one of those guys on the court because they stretch the floor. Other than that, like 5 guys are going to be in the paint. But his ability to be that threat and to where he can hit 3 threes in a row, and really open up a game, like we need that. And our bigs need that. Frank needs that. Hannes needs that. Zoom and Dez need that to open up driving lanes. And so, but that's why we got to do a better job finding those guys. Like when they're open, we can't miss them. You can't miss a shooter when they're coming off a stagger and they're open, or even in transition, because they're only going to be open for a split second. And then the rest of the game is covered up. And so we need to make teams pay when they do make mistakes. But Kamari, to your point, he's always in the right spot pretty much defensively. He's tough. He's about the right stuff. You can see he's always the one getting teams in the huddle. He's always being positive. He's the one on tape when Zoom makes a shot, or Dez or Wesley or Frank. He's the biggest cheerleader on the floor. It's not about Kamari. That's what makes him special. He's not worried about himself. He's worried about Washington, and he's worried about his teammates being successful, and that's why he's been a great player.
Thank you.
You bet.